We'll call the regular meeting of the New Ulm Economic Development Authority for Tuesday, September 11th, 2018 at 8 a.m. to order. The first item on the agenda is roll call. We do have a quorum, so we'll go on to item number 2, approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll offer that motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second, approve the minutes. Any more discussion on any? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 3 from the EDA staff regarding administrative activities during the month of August 2018. Heather.
All right, good morning. In the interest of time and with the long agenda we have today, I won't go through the report. You've received the report. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Didn't appear to be any major changes at all. I mean, it seemed like it was pretty steady from last month in almost every category, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just note we've cleaned up our waiting lists for the programs.
That's why there was the dip in that one graph. With that, I'm going to offer a motion to approve the administrative activities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 4A, consider resolution approving the fair market rent and payment standards for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. Heather?
All right, this is an annual item. HUD comes out with new fair market rents this time every year, and the fair market rents are gross rent estimates for rent and tenant-paid utilities. We use the fair market rents to set the payment standards for the Section 8 program. We've kept the payment standard at 100% of the fair market rents for the last year or so. I recommend keeping them there. They were very moderate changes, you know, a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there, so it shouldn't affect our program cost-wise a whole lot. We do have a requirement to have, what is it? Less than 40% of the program participants paying more than 30% of their income toward rent and utilities. We did an analysis, and with the current payment standards, we're at 52%. With these changes, it gets us down to 37%, which gets us below that 40% requirement. So we feel these will be adequate to meet the needs in our area.
So basically what I see is a $14 increase for a one-bedroom and a $3 per month increase for the second, third, and fourth bedroom, correct?
The 4-bedroom went down $3.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
going
I'm
to
reading
ask.
the right. Oh, I'm reading, yeah.
So that's
I mean,
a wash.
all the other increases were nominal.
And-
Why was that one on a decrease?
I have no idea how HUD comes up with these numbers, but I can tell you that I don't think we have any families currently on our Section 8 program with a 4-bedroom voucher, because that would be a 7 or 8 person household. And we just don't see family sizes that large very often at all anymore. Mostly 1, 2, and 3.
I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second off the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 4H, consider resolution approving the 2019 Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program Annual Budget. Heather.
All right, so this is the first of several budgets we'll talk about today for the Section 8 program. We do not know what our funding levels will be for the upcoming year, so we're basing this on year-to-date activity for 2018 as a status quo budget until we, until Congress decides what they're doing with the budget. So, as for several years now, the primary issue for this program is inadequate funding. We have 124 vouchers to serve Brown County. We are funding an average of about 94 vouchers this year. We estimate that number to remain stable in 2019 based on the current cost per voucher and funding projections for 2019. So you have the budget before you. Again, any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Heather?
Hearing none, I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading. Motion guy today?
Your motion guy.
Motion guy.
You're on it.
Second.
Oh, yeah.
Any more discussion? Finance Director, please call the roll.
Commissioner Braun,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 5A, consider resolution approving the flat rents for the public housing program.
All right, another annual item, when the fair market rents come out, we take a look at our flat rents for the public housing program. Again, we've been keeping these at 100% of the fair market rents, and I recommend doing the same again this year. When tenants on the public housing program have their income go up over time, there does come a point where 30% of their income can be significantly higher. So the flat rent is where we cap it out, and at that point, usually then they move on and move into the market because they no longer need the assistance, and that opens the unit up for someone who does need it. So I recommend keeping them at the fair market rents to encourage people to move on and move into the market.
With this particular one, I was really curious that the examination period is only every 3 years. I mean, a person's income can dramatically change in 3 years. But
Well-
that's just the standard, right?
Most of our tenants on the public housing program are doing income-based rent, so they're having an annual recertification.
alright.
It's only when they go to this flat rent that they can opt to do the reexamination every 3 years.
Right.
If their income would go down significantly, they could come in and go back to income-based rent.
Right.
But if their income stays high and they just want to stay at flat rent, there's no reason for us to recertify their income because we're not charging their rent based on their income at that point.
All right.
And those are like typical one-year leases with the tenants?
The public housing lease is month to month.
It's month to month. So with these changes, then they get incorporated in for the new flat rents, and anyone on a flat rent would see this increase, albeit nominal again, with effectively like next month's rent or whatever, once this is adopted.
Next time they come in for a recert,
So,
these would go into effect.
so it could potentially be 3 years out then, if they
Yeah,
are
if
on
they
the
just
current
had a
flat rent.
recert September 1st, if they don't have any major changes, it would be next September when they have their annual recert again.
Okay,
It just depends on when they're due.
okay.
Any more questions? Concerns? Seeing none, Finance Director, please, Heather, please call the roll.
Do we have a
We
motion?
don't have a.
Oh.
I'll
nobody's made a motion.
offer the resolution, just to break things up a little
Oh,
bit.
it's
and
okay.
Les is
I was
getting.
on a roll there for a while.
We have a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Heather?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just said put me down for a second.
I'll second it.
Oh.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni?
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5B, consider approving the family unit gutter project and authorize staff to solicit bids. Heather?
This is a project that we just started looking at recently. Our maintenance staff has to go up and clean the gutters on an annual basis, and a lot of these houses, we're talking going up 2 stories, and it's kind of a safety concern. A lot of our capital fund projects lately have been coming in well under budget, so it's a small project, but I do recommend it to save the maintenance staff time and save those safety concerns.
Well, I think for anybody who has went from not having gutter guards to having gutter guards will strongly support this. So I'm going to offer this motion.
I'll second, having been up on a ladder and putting up my own gutter guards, I understand.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5C, consider a resolution to declare surplus property of authorized disposition and authorized disposition. Excuse me.
We
Heather?
emptied another file cabinet. We're going paperless, so I just need to get rid of it.
I'll offer the motion to adopt the resolution and waive the reading.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second off the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none. Heather?
Commissioner Braun?
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni?
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5D, consider motion authorizing payment of the public housing program claims. Heather?
I will note on the City of New Ulm expense on the list, that was higher than normal due to 3 payroll cycles during the month of August. Other than that, it's,
The flooring looks like it got done, right, from Design Home Center.
mhm.
With that, all over the motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 6A, consider accepting cancellation notice for the Milford Heights lot purchase.
Right, we talked about this item last month. The buyers had verbally told me they wanted to withdraw their bid. In talking with the city attorney, he wanted something in writing, which we've received, and he wanted the EDA to formally accept the cancellation notice. You can see in the overview the process that we went through, went out for bids, received a bid on Lot 7, Block 4, needed to go to a vote due to the covenant exemption the buyers were requesting. We received the votes to grant the exemption, and 2 days before closing, the buyers decided to withdraw their bid. In talking with me about their decision to withdraw, they had indicated that I had given them an incorrect assessment as amount for this lot in an email. I requested that they send me a copy of that email, and I searched my email records. I wasn't able to find it. I had IT do a search. They weren't able to find it, and the buyers have still not sent me that email. So I have no proof that that's true. I had felt at the time if I had given them bad information that, maybe we should consider returning their $1,000 earnest money. I guess I'll put that to you as part of receiving the cancellation notice to direct me as to what you would like to do on that.
Well, and you said you have no proof, but actually you do. If you've had your IT staff check for all emails, they have them all. They have every single one. And you checked yours, you do have the proof that.
I wasn't able to find any
Right.
email, any such email that
Exactly.
it existed. The buyers haven't sent me
It was
what
probably
they
just
claim
an-
to have, so I,
Misread email or something of that nature.
Misunderstanding, yeah.
So do we take the earnest money or do we not?
yeah, that's the question. I mean, I guess I'd like you to make that decision.
I guess I lean toward giving it back. We aren't out here to take any money from anybody that, we don't need it anyway, so.
I agree, and I think that
I don't know.
if we were to keep it, it doesn't set a very good tone. We want to try to sell those lots, and I think the whole issue of the covenants and having to go out and seek the approval of all the other property owners created the delays, and I think it was a learning process for all of us because of the changing situation up there. And
I will note, under the budgetary issues, city manager did mention that we might want to take the cost of the mailing that was required because of the exemption they requested, the postage,
$40?
because that is taxpayer money, so that is just something I want to note, and you can decide if,
Got a motion in there somewhere?
I've got a motion to accept the cancellation and return the earnest money.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. So that means you won't deduct the 42. Understood?
right,
Good.
we'll return
All
it
right.
in full.
Just want to make sure. Item 6B, consider easement request for the New Ulm Public Utilities.
And I had this item down for Brian. He's not here, so I'll do the best I can to go over it. We received an easement request from the New Ulm Public Utilities, or PUC, as part of their underground conversion project in the downtown area. The easement involves several EDA-owned properties along North Broadway, 300 North Broadway, where Broadway House is located, 318 North Broadway, the vacant lot, 320 North Broadway, where we have a market rate rental house, and 326 North Broadway is a vacant parking lot. You can see on the map what they're proposing. And we don't have PUC here to answer any questions, but if you're agreeable to this request, we would draw up an easement agreement.
The easement really has no effect on anything for us in the long run, so I guess I would support it.
I'll make the motion. Get back to that. To approve the easement requested from New Ulm Public Utilities.
And second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 6C, consider resolution approving the 2019 budget for the EDA General Fund. Heather, or Nicole?
So the budget in front of you, for the most part, is just maintaining operations the way they are. There are a couple of items to note in there. With the assessment payments that we're making now, that actually creates a $39,000 deficit in the budget. It would be more too, because we've made it our practice, if we would sell one of those lots to a TIF qualified individual, that we would just pay the assessments off and be done with that lot. So that could change a little bit. And then also the budget includes a contribution paying 1/3 of the salary and benefits of the Economic Development Director, Assistant City Manager position, which amounts to about $41,000. If the deficit is something that we wouldn't want to sustain, we would have the option of making a transfer from Garden Terrace at the end of the year to cover whatever deficit we would have.
Thank you. Any questions for Heather? Or Nicole, I mean? So you used to call Heather today.
Now, we always had Brian, who was in charge of EDA. Now, is that moving over to your lap, Chris? So the salary would obviously be at a lesser amount. Is that what you're?
If you recall, back when we had an assistant city manager in the past, Tom McCauley, he was in charge of
Right.
the EDA.
None of, when Brian's been doing it, none of his salary has been charged to the
Oh,
EDA.
okay. So I was just like, then we should see a drop.
Yeah, and so last year, you decided to fund the EDC at $50,000, which of course, we did almost 19,000 of that, and then it was done.
Okay.
So that would have created a deficit in this year as well, but,
All right. That
so
makes
this
sense.
would be replacing that.
So we're proposing to look toward the end of the year to possibly take from the Garden Terrace Fund to cover
Yep.
deficits. And I know part of the discussions we're having too at this time is utilizing some of those Garden Terrace funds for other purposes. So do you think it'd be prudent if we made sure we earmarked maybe a kind of a worst case scenario, some of that Garden Terrace money, just to make sure we're covered by the end of the year here?
With Garden Terrace, we've left a very good chunk of it in there as unavailable to these other programs.
And
So I think
and you're taking this
would-
into
yep.
consideration?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great.
And I think we have enough fund balance in the EDA fund that wouldn't be necessary, that it's more optional if you want to
Okay.
do it, but it wouldn't be necessary.
I just don't want to spread ourselves too thin, so that's my only thought. Okay.
I'll offer a resolution approving the 19 budget for the EDA General Fund.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second off the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Braun?
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni?
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 6D, discuss revised draft for the home buyer assistant loan program. Chris?
So before you again is another revised version after discussion last month. I've taken out some of the requirements before that were in there. The borrow having to have 3% down, because I changed it to we would just be covering up to 5% of the home value up to $10,000. Requiring a home inspection instead of having city staff go out to examine the property. Took out the requirement for the 8-hour online or in-person training. And then put in there, there would be 50,000 available. That still is, up to you to decide. But that would be about between 6 to 8, or it would be probably around five loans given out, maybe a little bit more, and then decreased it to a 3-year deferred payment instead of 5, and then. If you graduate from New Ulm High School, you're eligible for the 50% forgiveness.
Any questions anybody have?
If this becomes extremely popular and the money goes out real quickly, are we sort of restricted on an annual budgetary basis, or could we look at adding additional funds throughout the course of the year if we decide to do that?
I think that would be up to you to decide.
Okay,
We can see how the
just
program
keep it,
goes.
yeah, I mean, this will be kind of the test case, and we'll see how well it's received, and, okay.
Do we have a definition of resident of New Ulm? I mean, if they're in town for one day, they become eligible, or, that was the only thing that sparked my curiosity when I reread this.
I think the original draft they had to be here for 6 months, and we decided to get rid of that because if they're coming here for a job, relocating here, we want them to be able to buy a house if they want to, so they stay.
But if they're coming here, they're not a resident yet.
Yeah, well, so it's resident and/or if they work at least 32 hours a week.
Oh, I see. So they wouldn't even have to be a resident. Or they could just be working in New Ulm.
Yeah, and so it provides that opportunity for workforce housing, people that want, that are commuting, that
okay.
want to buy
Yeah.
a house here, and that way
Good.
they don't
I
have to
guess I
travel.
hadn't recognized that last part, so that solves my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like it. I support this one more than the next one, but
I guess I got just one question. One of the comments that was mentioned the last time when we were walking out the door is we got a New Ulm graduate. Could it be or GED? Is there a big difference?
how do we word that again? Where's,
This
there it
says,
is. High
must be a
school.
graduate of New Ulm High School.
Of a New Ulm high school, so.
High school, okay.
Yeah, so it's any of the high schools that are located within the area, but it's up to you. I mean, I can change that to GED, high school graduate or GED.
Are you talking about for the forgivable?
Yeah.
So if they get their GED, they could get a GED anywhere and get half of their loan forgiven, or?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it takes to get a GED. I'm just asking a question.
Well, most of the time when you get your GED, you can get it from your high school too. Or, oh no, it comes from the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
So it would not be a New Ulm.
So it might not be a local person. I mean, you might be opening that up to,
Yeah, okay. I just asked the question.
You typically wouldn't use GED, you use high school diploma or equivalent anyway.
Oh,
Right.
But it's true, you can get a GED if you go to classes up in Granite Falls. You don't have to be a resident here in New Ulm.
okay.
The program is run through a vocational school.
A lot of it's online now.
Yeah.
The
But-
testing is all online now, so.
But the point is well taken. You can get a GED from anywhere.
I suppose there's always a potential for a waiver of some sort through us as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a,
Just leave it and go for a waiver if whatever has to.
so yeah.
yeah, that's a good question.
When did we want to start this? When was the,
Yeah, I was
I
going to
don't
ask
think
what's our
we've
next
determined
steps.
that. Well, if you feel like the draft is you're happy with it, we can put it on the next agenda for formal approval, and then you could decide the effective date
Okay.
when you
Would this be
approve it.
something that perhaps the city attorney would finalize, you think? Is that probably a prudent step for us?
Think we should run the final draft by the city attorney prior to bringing it to you for approval.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm thinking we should move forward. That's,
So you're not looking for a motion on this anyway, you're just looking for
No,
a
just-
consensus?
right.
Yeah, I like it. I think we should keep moving forward on it.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's made pretty popular.
Hope so.
Okay. Sounds like consensus. Move forward. All right, we'll go on to item 7A. Consider resolution approving the 2019 rental property fund budget. Heather?
The rental fund is a very small budget, covers the 320 North Broadway market rate rental house and the 326 North Broadway corner lot that are owned by the EDA. The current rent charge for the rental house at 320 North Broadway is $525 a month. We are proposing a rent increase of $25 a month for that rental house effective January 1st, 2019. And the lot at 326 North Broadway at times has been rented out to businesses, or we've let organizations use it for short-term fundraising purposes at no cost. Broadway House Apartments pays the EDA $600 a year to use the parking lot for snow removal when we do snow removal of the Broadway House parking lot. We used to get $1,000 a year easement from the lamplighter for that strip between the lamplighter and the Kiesling House. This year we gave that land to Park and Rec, so we'll no longer get that easement money, so that was changed in the new budget. So I guess the biggest question is on the rent increase for the rental house. I know we're trying to get that up to what we feel is market rate, but I don't want to do, too big of a jump.
do we actually pay property taxes on that?
We do.
We do. Not, it's not like Garden Terrace where they're paid in lieu of property taxes? Okay.
Yeah, I think I remember last year talking about how low that amount is, and it could be, to rent an entire home for $525 is a really good deal, let alone $550, so.
Is this a month-to-month rental situation
It's
too?
month to month.
And they've been there for a long time.
The tenants do pay all of the utilities and the garbage removal on top of their rent, so they have a couple $100 a month in utility costs above, what the $550 it would be if you approve the $25 increase.
And they've been there like 5-6 years, from what I remember.
Current tenants have been there, I'd say probably 3 years.
Years.
And they're good tenants, they pay their rent, we really don't
Right.
hear from them much otherwise.
What is market rate? Like, how far off are we? I'm just kind of curious.
If you go back to the fair market rents on a 2-bedroom, that would be $700. If the rent's $550 and let's say there's $200 in utilities, that would be $750. So we're actually over what a fair market rent is for a 2-bedroom, but in reality, I'm sure there are landlords in New Ulm getting more than $550 a month on a 2-bedroom house.
Mhm.
So
Plus, a house is different than an apartment, just in general.
Any more questions?
I'll offer a motion, a resolution approving the 2019 rental properties fund budget.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to offer resolution waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 8A, consider awarding bid to the Garden Terrace Furnace Replacement Project. Heather?
All right, we got this project approved last month, went out for bids. We solicited bids from 8 local HVAC vendors. 2 bids were received. I did get a call the day the bids were due after they were opened from GOG Sheet Metal. They had forgotten to submit their bid, so they were out of luck. But the low bid received was from Aaron's Heating, $37,626. Clausen was significantly higher at $66,500. I did call Aaron's to make sure they had included everything that was required and that they were comfortable with their number, because I was a little bit
Yeah.
taken aback by how low they were, but they said they were confident in their number. We do want to try to get these replaced before winter due to their age, because maintenance is saying it is harder to find parts when they need them, and we don't want to be in a situation where we're faced with an emergency repair, so.
All right. Thank you. Any more questions?
I'll make the motion to accept the bid.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 8B, discuss revised drafts of the down payment assistance for the Garden Terrace Residence Program. Go ahead.
Okay. So really, the only two major changes were it's now just a $200 credit that you would receive each month that you pay your rent, and that initially there would be a $25,000 limit annually used on a first-come, first-served basis. So essentially, you'd be giving out a total of 5 a year. And again, it would take about 2.5 years from when you start the program for someone to reach the $5,000 limit.
Anybody have any questions for Chris?
I'm not a biggest fan of, as I mentioned earlier, of this particular program, just because of the long waiting list to get into the Garden Terrace to begin with. I don't know. If the rest of the commission wants to support it, I will. But I don't know. What's on our? How many are on our waiting list now? I know you purged it.
Oh, let me go back to the admin report. 51 currently, and I'll just note, in years past, I mean, that used to be consistently up at 80 and 90, and it's been,
So how long will it take for that 51st person to get into Garden Terrace?
I mean, if we have
There's
one
too many
turnover a
variables
month,
to even
that's
take
12 a
into
year.
consideration.
What's that?
Too many variables.
Yeah.
If somebody's looking for apartment
Yeah.
20,
They want one bedroom or two.
21, they don't want 22, they want 21. And so that
Mhm.
person could be on the list for 15 years.
Yeah.
It's up to the people whether or not they choose to get out of their house or pull the trigger and pick an apartment, and you just never know.
I just look at it as a good incentive for a potential employee, say, for instance, coming to town, to say, hey, you know, if you want a pathway to homeownership, here's an alternative for you, you know. Is it going to happen in every case? No. I mean, I think, at least with the history of Garden Terrace, I think you see a long-term tendency there. I mean, people move in and they tend to stay for quite some time. And that's all well and good, but I think part of what you want with rental properties is some turnover, in that some people do establish stronger roots in the community and then want to become homeowners. And I think this just creates an opportunity to do so, and we can do so with, you know, this property, since it's owned by the EDA, and make that available potentially to some people moving to town that would one day want to be a homeowner. And I think that's going to promote better economic vitality for the community in offering that. And it's something that I'm not familiar with a lot of other communities in our area that would have a program like this. So if we could offer it, it might make us more attractive for a potential worker to come to town and want to stay here more long-term. So that's my reason for supporting it. We wrestle with the whole waiting list thing. I mean, we see waiting lists at Broadway House, we see waiting lists at Garden Terrace. I mean, it still points to a critical need for housing. So we're making steps in the right direction, but we have a long ways to go yet, I think, too. So, but to me, to offer this just it sends a clear message that we want people to come and we want people to stay in the community of New Ulm, especially if we're looking at it in terms of workers. And we keep hearing that from our employers, that finding housing for their workers coming to town has been just a huge issue and problem. So I think we can do our part in offering this program to make that happen, at least in some cases. We're talking 5 potential people a year. I mean, that's not tipping the scales that hard. In my opinion, it's just making a gesture and an offer to make something like this move forward. So that's why I support it.
There was some discussion last month about going retroactive, but we don't have that in here, do we, Chris?
No, and I mean, we don't have to go retroactive if you don't want, and I mean, we can definitely in the final draft, if you'd like to go retroactive, we can put that in there. You just have to give me, if you want to go back to January 1st, 2017, or or even January 1st of this year to give them, this year's rent.
And really, if you look at it, this might decrease that waiting list if we have people that come in and say, yeah, I'll be here 2 or 3 years, but then I'm gonna have this money that'll help me to buy a home, and then I'll vacate my rental property and allow it for someone else who's on that waiting list.
Our survey, I think if I remember right, had 2 people maybe interested, right?
I think it was 4.
It was 4, yeah.
Okay.
I think we could give it a shot. Now, what I don't understand about the waiting list is, so someone comes to you today, and how many people do you go through until
Well,
a vacancy pops up?
we own the building. Lloyd Management manages the building for us, so I'm
Okay.
not the one calling when there's an opening. But with any waiting list, you get an opening, you start calling, and it's not uncommon to go through several people. I'm not ready to move it this time, or it's a 1-bedroom, I'm waiting for a 2-bedroom, and so you call until you get a taker. Currently, they have 5 openings, which is the most I've ever seen. Some of that is due to that they're doing rehab on the units, and all the contractors are busy, so they're having trouble getting them there to get the apartment finished and get it ready for the next person. But, we want to keep the building full, and I think if we have something to offer, that'll help us.
And we're making an assumption. The demographics are probably changing, but the people on the waiting list are usually not 28-year-old couples with a small child.
Correct.
The people on the waiting list are, the average age was 78 years old, a few years back. So the people that are on the list that would qualify is probably really small. But it is changing. We've got more younger people in the building than probably ever before, but it's not a landslide that there's going to be a lot of people looking for this.
Right.
Most of them are getting out of their house into an
Move in.
apartment, so they don't
Yes.
have to mow the grass, they don't have to plow anymore.
Absolutely.
One of the move-out notices received for October is leaving because of a job transfer, so we do have working people living there now.
I support this program. I guess when I was first moved to this area 10 years ago and was looking for apartment in the area, knowing something like this was available would have appealed to me. And I guess I just think it's a good way to utilize the resources we have. Is it for everybody that lives there? No. But I still think it's something that for the people that can take advantage of it or that it would work for, it's just nice to have it available. And by kind of putting that cap on it or limiting it to the first come first serve, I think we can kind of see how the program goes then, how it's utilized, and over time we can take another look at it.
Yeah, I think all of these programs should be revisited on a periodic basis, and, you know, you can make changes to it at any time, you can discontinue it at any time. So do we feel this one's ready to bring back?
Do we also want to run this one through our city attorney and just
Yeah,
have him take a
so-
quick look at it, bring it back next month for final approval?
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking we should move forward with it, just like with the down payment assistance, and have the city attorney look at it and get a final draft proposal for us to approve.
Do we want to make the start date retroactive? January 1st?
Like, that's our biggest question here.
Yeah. Those 4 potential people could take advantage of it, or whatever, the 4 that expressed interest in it.
I guess if you want to give us direction today, we can put it in the version that we bring to you for approval
Right.
next month.
Yes, my thought would be January of 2018,
January 1st of 2018.
in my opinion.
And if they're a resident as of that date, they'd qualify. I'm okay with that.
Sounds good to me.
I can live with it.
Okay. Sounds like the consensus, so. We'll move forward. We'll go on to item number 9A, consider motion approving with conditions a $40,000 loan for the commercial property loan program to Stake Property LLC.
Okay.
Chris?
Stake Property had come in and expressed that they wanted to re-roof one of the properties they own at 317 North Minnesota Street. Total estimated project cost is going to be $80,000, so they do meet the requirement of the 1-for-1 match. Current market value of the building is $304,000. Their outstanding loan currently is $117,000. $40,000 loan from Citizens Bank would have about $146,000 in equity. So the EDA giving them $40,000 for their loan, they'd still have $106,000 remaining in equity for on their property. Any loan in excess of $25,000 has to get your approval. And the city attorney would recommend a promissory note and mortgage and personal guarantees from Stake Property. Citizens Bank would put all that together and send that over to Roger for his review. It will be a 10-year loan with 2% interest rate, and currently we have $276,000 in the
That was my last
EDA
question.
loan fund.
With that, I'll offer a motion to approve this.
I have just a quick question.
Yep.
Are there any stipulations that prohibit, like, having more than one loan out to a business for this rehab program?
No.
Nope, okay, great. That was, because they have an outstanding loan at this time. So
Yeah.
this would be a second loan to them, so, okay.
Yeah, they have about $1,900
Yeah,
left on
not
that.
not very small balance, yeah.
And they were thinking about just paying that off.
Perfect, okay,
We've
great.
not had any problems collecting that.
No.
All right. I'll stand with my motion then.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 10, from the Economic Development Director, Assistant Manager regarding activities during the month of August 2018. Chris?
So attended the South Central Business Development Network meeting in Mankato. That was a pretty productive meeting. We get together with different cities in the area and discuss different projects that are going on, kind of get an update about what everyone else is doing to see if we can share ideas, best practices. Met with the NUEDC board, met with Windings VP to finalize their Minnesota Investment Fund and Job Creation Fund applications. And those applications were submitted to DEED, and we should be getting a letter by the end of this week or early next week stating that both those funds have been approved and they can move forward with their project. We closed on the NUEDC lot and sold it to DLC. I met with a couple individuals interested in George's Ballroom, doing some legwork for them to get some information to see if their project is feasible. We had 2 commercial rehab loans that are still in process. The estimates they got were too low, and so they're trying to get estimates that will fit their budget, and I'll bring those to you once we get those revised estimates, and then you just approve the one loan that for stake properties. Attended the Housing Institute meeting in Winthrop, and from there we had to put together a presentation for our retreat that we're having next week about a housing program out in Gaylord. And then you guys just approved the final drafts, or the drafts, so we can bring back to you for final approval next month.
Thank you.
And then, actually, I did meet with the city manager over in St. Peter about some of the childcare programs that they had put together. And so I'll put together some draft programs to bring to you in the next couple months. You know, and from the meeting, you know, what it was is, you know, for short-term kind of care, you know, in-home daycare is kind of the way to go to gear a lot of the programs, because that's going to solve your immediate need. And then having a program, you know, to help centers get up and running is kind of your long-term, you know, 3 to 5 year out kind of program. So I'll bring some stuff to you guys for your thoughts.
Sounds great.
Wonderful.
Anybody have any questions for
I
Chris?
do have one. I know we have both two EDC people here. What's going on with the organization?
That's a
Or don't
good
we know yet?
question.
I just don't have a clue, so.
They're still up in the air trying to figure out where they want to
Still
go.
working on their
Yeah,
end.
still
All right.
working on
I
that.
didn't know if they did.
I think they're wanting to move the rest of the lots they own, but that, I think they're making a determination here that that's going to be a little more longer-term process. So-
Move them over to the city, or?
Well, that's been part of the discussion, and so,
Stay tuned.
yeah, stay tuned. I
Okay.
guess that's
All right.
probably the best.
All right, that's
you're
fine.
right,
I
yeah.
didn't know if they had a
Yeah.
plan or, all right, thank you.
Mhm.
I'll offer the motion to accept the report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. With no more business, meeting adjourned. Great job, Heather.
Look at that, less than an hour, huh?
Believe it.
Oh, we're
We
ahead of
moved it
schedule.
along.
I figured
You were
9:30.